Hello and welcome to this tournament edition of the Central District Hoops Report. I'm your host, Justin Griffiths, and we had the first game of the Central District playoffs that tipped off this afternoon. Olney Central traveled to Kaskaskia, the only game that's going to be held on a campus, and it was a very great game all the way around. Big tip of my cap to Kaskaskia, who, spoiler, wins the game 95-87. And this game was actually really close. Kaskaskia had a few times where they jumped out to a 10, 15-point lead and seemed like that they were about ready to run away with the game. But every time they did that, they let off the brakes just a little bit, just enough that Coach Levina's team was able to come back into the game. They cut it down to single digits at the half at 44-35, and they were able to just stick with them throughout the rest of the course of the game. And in the final 10 minutes, they outscored Kaskaskia 26-25. But once again, that was not enough, as once again Kaskaskia wins 95-87. Let's go ahead and look at the leading scores. First, for the Kaskaskia Blue Devils, they were led by Lionel Hodge, who was 9 of 14 shooting from the field, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, and finished with 21 points. Miles Liddell finished 10 of 12 shooting from the field, 1 of 2 from behind the arc, and 25 points. Markel Newsom was 7 of 8, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, and finished with 15 points. And Jared Mackey was 6 of 10 shooting, 1 for 1 from behind the arc. He finished with 14, and those 4 players were obviously the leading scorers. They led the bulk of the scoring for the Blue Devils, as the other players that put in significant minutes, Dallas Harding Fair scored 7, Granger scored 6, and Terrence Hall scored 6. So it was those 4 that made up 90% of your scoring. Again, it was enough to get the victory on your home floor. Now you got to turn over and battle Vincennes, who's coming in 16-0. They just saw you last Tuesday on their home floor for senior night. It's going to be a very interesting affair. Let's go ahead and look at Olney Central's leading scores before I jump into the preview between those two teams. Olney, they were led by sophomore Jaleel Bethea. He finished 8 of 17 shooting, 13 of 17 from the foul line. He battled hurt all game long. He took a nasty spill in the first half, and he kept hitting the deck after hitting the deck after hitting the deck. He went to the line 17 times, made 13 of them. He had a chance to cut the Kaskaskia lead down to 3 in the closing seconds when he had to hit 3 free throws. Unfortunately, he only went 1 of 3 from there, and that was with 30 seconds left in the game. Overall, like I said, finished 8 of 17, 13 of 17 from the free throw line, and 31 points. Kasim Nash, he finished, as you see, 7 of 12 shooting from the field, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, and 16 points. Cristobal Vargas, 4 of 12 shooting, 1 of 5 from behind the arc, and he finished with 11 points as well. And finally, Caden Big Country Miller, he finished 5 of 11 shooting from the floor and 11 points. Overall, this team, I mean, you can't say much more about this team. They started with a full roster, and they finished the season with only 6 players, and 4 of them get into double figures in your last game. They battled hard all year. Jaleel Bethea, on multiple occasions, has put this team on his back as a sophomore and made this team go. Kasim Nash, same way. Cristobal Vargas, I believe he's a freshman, so hopefully he sticks around for Coach Levina and is able to reform his shots. It just seems that there were times in this game where Olney would get down and they would settle for shooting threes instead of working the offense the way that it was drawn up and finding somebody open down low, because they were able to break the press most of this game, and Kaskaskia pressed for 60 minutes or for 40 minutes. And so Olney was able to break it down and being able to work and break the press easily. And when they were able to do it and not settle for a three-pointer, they were able to get an easy two, get back on defense, and it made it a very interesting game going forward. But once again, it just wasn't enough. Jalil Bethea, he left it all out on the floor, man. So I wish him all the best going forward. It will be very interesting to see where he goes for his 4-year education. Everybody else, again, you finished with 6 players. All 6 of them played really hard. Jose Ritchie and Evian Morris are the other 2 players that I did not mention. Everybody was in foul trouble. Ritchie had 4 fouls. Bethea had 4 fouls. Kate Miller had 4 fouls. And the ones that didn't have 4 fouls, Morris and Vargas, they had 3. So, once again, they had nobody foul out in this game, which is always good, especially when you have no bench. And so, again, it's sad to see that this team, who battled all year, falls just a little bit short of winning a district tournament game. So, as we get ready for Monday's game, as you see here, Kaskaskia wins, and they will, like I mentioned before, they will take on Vincennes. 2 o'clock Eastern time tip for that game. Vincennes won the first 2 meetings between these 2 teams, especially the last one in Vincennes, pretty handily. The first one in Kaskaskia was close, an 8-point win for the Trailblazers. So, like I said, going into the opening game with Kaskaskia and Olney, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And that is something that Vincennes is going to have to try to do if they want to hold or defend their district championship and move on to Hutch. With that being said, I was thinking about it. Kaskaskia Olney ran this team for 40 minutes, didn't let up, and I think the legs are going to get to Kaskaskia from that. It's going to be a very interesting game at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central time, and you can watch the entire tournament down. I'll link it down in the description below, and I will put it up here somewhere. But yeah, so that is going to do it for this episode of the Central District Hoops Report. Obviously, a smaller episode because we only have 1 game to cover. The next one, I'm going to cover all the quarterfinal actions and set up the semifinals. Until next time, peace.